Top of the leaderboard, Tess's Eurovision on FCOT FM.
Good afternoon, Europe. The time is now 12 p.m. This is FCOT FM. My name is Tess, and you're listening to my Eurovisions. Yes, indeed, for the next hour, I will be proving to you once and for all that Eurovision is not the camp, pathetic joke of a show that the BBC likes to pretend it is. No, indeed. And to back me up, I have handpicked 8 songs from this year's contest and beyond to prove my point. I also have a local expert, other than myself, in the studio with me to back me up, and I'll be talking to him later on in the show. But first, as always, all rise for the international anthem of Marc-Antoine Charpentier, Te Deum. As always, in today's show, you can expect 8 amazing songs, all the latest news and updates, a little game or two, and even more besides. So, to get us into the zone, to get us energized and hyped up and just generally ready, let's open with our first song of the show. This year, Cyprus will be represented by local pop sensation Eleni Foureira and her new single Fuego, and it absolutely sounds like something people here in the UK would go crazy for. She'll be competing in semi-final 1 on the 8th of May, so any UK-based listeners could vote for this if you so desire, and if you need a scorecard, they are available over on Facebook and Twitter at FCOT FM. For now though, is she going to be getting your vote? Well, let's listen now and see what you think. That was Eleni Foureira with Fuego, representing Cyprus at this year's Eurovision Song Contest. What do you think of it? Will she be getting your vote? Get in touch on social media at FCOT FM and through the hashtag EuroTess, EuroTess, in case you didn't know how to spell, I guess, if you've never heard of Europe. I'll be keeping my eye on that hashtag throughout the show, and if you have anything interesting to say, I will be sure to make a point of reading it out. Actually, come to think of it, while you're over there on social media, be sure to keep an eye out for my scorecards. Yes, indeed, I have made custom Tess brand FCOT FM Eurovision scorecards for this year's semi-final, for this year's contest, and you can print them out, use them at your leisure, and I will be making one for the final as well once we know who's qualified for that. Meanwhile, though, elsewhere in space and time, specifically in the present day, yes, it's that time in the show again already where I deliver unto your ears a delicious 60-second soundbite of all the latest news from the Eurovision bubble. So, with 1 minute on the clock, let's see how far I can get. The Eurovision 2018 stage has completed construction in the Altice Arena in Lisbon, and rehearsals are ready to get underway over the coming weeks. Some footage has been leaked onto social media already, and the public reaction is largely positive, despite the deliberate exclusion of LED screens, which have featured prominently in the stage design every year concurrently since 2011. The governing body of the contest recently released a list of prohibited items that are not allowed to be brought into the venue, which was met with amusement on social media, as fans of the contest were tickled at the inclusion of, amongst other things, shopping trolleys, handcuffs, and golf balls on the ban list. And Israel continues to dominate the OGAE pre-show voting, where 44 delegations from across the globe, consisting of Eurovision pundits, cast non-professional, opinion-based votes on each year's songs. So far, 37 delegations have voted, and Israel's Netta Barzilai is far in front, with a total of 376 points so far, ahead of France's Madame Monsieur in second with 291, and Finland's Sara Aalto in third with 192 points, with Australia and the Czech Republic rounding out the top 5 at this present moment. Deary me, I was worried for a second there, but once again, I've managed to fit the latest news into 60 seconds, barely. What a busy world the Eurovision bubble is. And for further proof of that, I make it just about time, once again, for that little game of mine that I just can't seem to keep away from that I call Almost Eurovision. I played this last week, and I played it last year, so you should remember the rules, but if you don't, how it works is this. I shall play you clips of 3 songs that all tried and failed to represent their respective countries in the same year, and all you have to do is correctly identify which year they're all from. Use the hashtag EuroTest to get in touch, and if you think you can identify where each song is from and who's responsible for them, go right ahead. But the main goal here is just to identify which year they're from. So good luck with that, but enough explaining. Let's listen to this week's Almost Eurovision candidates. Interesting, isn't it? Well, if you want another listen to those, just stay tuned. I'll be playing a recap of those songs again later on in the show, so there is plenty of time for you to get in touch and send in your answer. In the meantime, though, enough stalling. Let's listen to another song from this year's contest, firmly rooted in the present day. Coming up, we have what I like to think of as a quote-unquote male counterpart to Cyprus's song, which comes to us from Poland in the form of Light Me Up by DJ Gromi and Lucas Meyer. It's another one that I think will be popular here in the UK, but maybe I'm wrong, maybe I've got it completely backwards. Let me know, tell me what you think via #EuroTess, and, well, I don't really have anything else to say to introduce it. I'll just head over to Poland. Light me up. What a tune. That was Light Me Up, which will represent Poland in the second semi-final of Eurovision 2018 on the 10th of May this year. It's a decent song, but I did have a dumb thought that totally ruined it for me, and now I can't look at the song the same way ever again. But if you want to hear more about that, alongside a full, proper, professional musical analysis, check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/TessHex, that's TESSHEX, where I've reviewed all 43 of this year's songs in great detail, as I have done with the songs of previous years since 2014. Now, I'd like to do a little bit of foreshadowing here by pointing out that Poland's entry this year was chosen by a national selection show where a bunch of songs came together and the people of Poland voted on which one should represent them. Conversely, Cyprus's entry this year was chosen internally, which means the TV executives of that country selected her without asking the public. And my question of the week for you lovely people, which do you think is better in terms of selecting an entrant? Now, on paper, you might think that a national final selection show is the obvious way to go, because that way the broadcaster gets a say in who the finalists are, and then the public gets a say in which one of those finalists they think is the best. And it isn't as cut and dry as that. So, after all, if a broadcaster can offer an exclusivity deal with an artist where they're guaranteed a spot at the contest rather than just the chance of winning it in like a smaller show first, then they're much more likely to be able to recruit bigger name artists. Personally, I still think that a selection show tends to be better, but I acknowledge that it does vary by country. Some countries just cannot be trusted with selection shows, whether that's because the people of that country don't take the contest seriously enough, or because the country can't afford it, or whatever, and that's fine, but it's a good means of building up hype for the actual contest if there's a mini contest beforehand dedicated entirely to picking one country's entry. Hell, Sweden have turned that into an art form according to some Eurovision fans, but that's just me. Let me know through #EuroTess which you think works better overall, casting the net wide with a selection show and a public vote, or keeping it behind closed doors with better odds of getting a heavy-hitting artist. Is there another factor or two that I'm not thinking of? Get in touch, please do, I'm always listening. For now, though, let's throw over to another internally selected artist in the form of Austria, represented this year by one Cesar Sampson, who was a backing vocalist for Bulgaria last year and the year before, placing second and fourth, so second in 2017, fourth in 2016, respectively. So this guy definitely knows what he's doing, or at the very least he has experience. His entry this year is called Nobody But You. Will he steal the show in Lisbon? Well, let's have a listen now.
Rushing into Rushmore? Call Eurotaxis on 01252 376666 or check out the Eurotaxis.biz app. We're now expanding into the Rushmore area, providing even wider coverage with our 20 years of experience in taxis and minibuses. If you've got somewhere to be, count on us to get you there. Rush more? Rush less. Call Eurotaxis on 01252 376666.
Princess Mead, Farnborough, home of essential shopping every day. Featuring over 30 shops on a single level and even more to discover outside, we're home to big brands and local businesses alike, offering everything from everyday essentials to that special something and almost anything in between. With ample parking, an excellent food court and regular events to bring the community together. For more information, go to our website www.princessmead.co.uk or come in and visit us in person. Princess Mead, essential shopping every day.
Lisbon's calling and FCOT's listening. It's Tess's Eurovisions.
Very much, yes indeed. This is 87.7 FCOT FM and you're listening to me, Tess, and my Eurovisions. Before we carry on with the show, I asked you earlier to listen to 3 songs that all tried to represent their countries but weren't chosen in a previous year, and your job was to identify which year that was. There's still plenty of time to tweet your answer in if you've got it, using #EuroTess, and if you need to hear that recap again, I am more than happy to provide that for you. If you think you've got the year, head over to wherever hashtags are found, preferably Twitter because it's just easier to look at hashtags over there, but use hashtag EuroTess. I wish you the very best of luck with that, and feel free to guess if you have a rough idea of when you think it might be. And while that's going on, I think it's about time that I took a look at the most recent ripplings in the betting odds department. Generally speaking, not all that much has changed since the last week, and I think we can't really expect all that much to shift significantly until the rehearsals start happening. Still, though, the top 5 consists of France, Australia, the Czech Republic, and Bulgaria, plus Israel leading the pack, particularly enough. Both Bulgaria and Israel's odds have been shortening even further lately, so they'll definitely be ones to keep an eye on in the coming weeks. On the completely opposite end of the table, the bookies have absolutely no faith whatsoever in San Marino, Slovenia, Montenegro, Iceland, or Switzerland, amongst others, putting them all with horrendous odds of doing anything of note whatsoever. And you know what? That actually offends me a fair bit. There are some legitimate tunage in there, and let's face it, the only reason they're not as high as they should be is because they haven't been as hyped up as they deserve to be, unlike some of the entries this year. One website also offers the novelty of betting on who's most likely to finish last, and surprise, surprise, they've put the UK at the top of the table. I don't believe that for a second, honestly. Just looking at the table of odds they're offering, bearing in mind this is one website, I severely get the impression that they haven't actually heard any of this year's songs at all. Oh, but of course, England will come last because blah blah Brexit, everybody hates us, neighbour voting, or some other xenophobic excuse that just belies how little you understand the contest. Do these people not realise just how utterly stupid they sound when they parrot these tired and irrelevant excuses year after year? Do I even need to mention the World Cup again? But I'm getting entirely too tilted here. Rather than get angry at all the background noise specifically designed to make my job of convincing you of the contest's worth unnecessarily difficult, how about I just demonstrate that what I'm saying is true instead with an actual practical example? So, let's throw back to 2011 for just a moment, to the song that placed second that year when all was said and done. Marking Italy's grand return to the contest after a protracted absence lasting from 1997, Rafael Gualazzi's Madness of Love stormed the voting and cemented Italy as a mainstay of the top half of the scoreboard in the contest of the 21st century. So, yeah, over to that. I wonder just how different the present-day contest would look and sound if that had won outright. It's a classy little tune. I have a guest who doesn't agree with that. Well, we can only wonder how it would have impacted the rest of the Eurovision timeline, bearing in mind we had a classy winner last year, or, well, some people would say that anyway, but whatever. Anyway, as I said, joining me now in the studio is a fellow local Eurovision expert who, well, I'm sure is capable of introducing himself, so how are you doing today?
Hello, it's me. I'm back again. For those who don't know, my name is Elliot Harris, and yes, like Tess, I love the contest and have no shame in saying that out loud.
And why should there be shame in it? The purpose of this show is to say there is no shame. We're on the right side of history. The rest of y'all need to wake up. Get finna woke, yo.
And I have no reply to that statement.
I am one of the cool kids. What are you talking about? So earlier on in the show, I asked you lovely people listening about national selections where, like X Factor style, you vote for a winner and that represents your country versus an internal selection. So, Elliot, what do you have to say on that?
There's pros and cons to each side.
Oh, absolutely.
I personally prefer a national selection because we get more music out of it, we get artists we haven't heard, and at the end of the day, Eurovision is a show for the public and it is a show for TV, so it makes sense the public choose and support the artists they want. Saying that, an internal selection, 9 times out of 10 there are musical experts who go through rounds of finding an artist and people who know what sells and what does well in music and in musical markets, so then again they have the knowledge and the trust to find someone to do well.
Doesn't always work for them. I mean,
no, sometimes it does backfire spectacularly, and you know, might again this year, who knows, but personally I think it's a song for the public, and if you want to generate hype in your country for the contest, you need to let them have a say, personally.
Just make sure you know your audience, because, for instance, the UK national finals, if someone were to stick like a joke entry in there, the people would fall for it like that, and that, like, no, public, you are missing the point.
Yeah, and also just be ready for the broadcasters, just be ready to have some sort of backlash when the wrong act wins, because everyone has a different opinion and they think their favourite should win every single time. But you know, if you're mature enough to deal with it, it's fine.
Yeah. It's funny you should mention as well, because I wanted to bring up specifically San Marino, who had their first ever national selection this year, because usually they're so tiny and they have so little money that they can only ever do internal selections, but this year they worked with a London-based production company to produce a full-on national final, which they held in Bratislava, because of course.
with most of the songs being wrote by Zoe Straub, the Austrian representative from 2016.
I mean, she qualified, so...
She did, and some of the songs were very good, but yeah, that was a national final ramped up to about 500. So, Little San Marino, there's no middle ground for them, is there? It's one or the other, and I love it.
The best thing with it as well is they weren't expected to be as successful as it was, and so they made so much money off the back of this that they've immediately said, like, yeah, we're going to do this again next year, which is like, whoa, San Marino, where did you come from? Like, this time last year you were considering quitting. And so they're going to be back next year with hopefully an even bigger and better show.
Yeah, more refined as well, because there were one or two kinks, which, you know, your first year there's always going to be teething problems and you need to accept that, but it was brilliant marketing as well, because it was said anyone and everyone can enter, so everyone kind of had this dream of being on the Eurovision stage kind of brought to the forefront of their heads. And I had a lot of friends in this community who applied and went for it, and a few actually got through 1 or 2 rounds, so more power to them.
Yeah. And I think my favourite moment from all of it, though, is at some point, the head of delegation for San Marino, Alessandro Capicchioni, I've spoken to him before, he is a lovely cinnamon roll of a man. He was on, like, the jury panel, commenting on each of the songs, and at some point, I don't remember why, I don't remember what it was in response to, but he just looked at the camera and said, "Soon it will all be over." Like, whoa! Some Marinese nihilism up in here.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a bit of a bizarre moment. It's like, is that sadness or
excitement
or happy? Yeah, like, he just said so monotone. It's like, has he malfunctioned?
Well, anyway, as we heard last week, I've been trying to make a little featurette in this show out of playing one song each week that competed to try and represent their country in this year's contest, but that wasn't chosen in the end, and so I'd like to bring an example of that from San Marino. So, yes, coming up now, we have the wildly popular Out of the Twilight by Austrian-born Sarah de Blue. So let me know through #EuroTess, would you have voted for this song if it had been chosen? Remember, it was a candidate for this year's contest, but it didn't get through in the end, so bear that in mind as we listen to it now. Right, just as a reminder, that song was competing to represent San Marino at this year's Eurovision, but it wasn't chosen in the end, and some fans are rather disgruntled about that because of how the national final worked. In short, instead of being able to phone in to cast your vote, the public vote was open to anyone in the world rather than just residents of San Marino, and instead of voting by phone, it was done via a crowdfunding platform. The thing is, there was an upper limit to that. So, once an artist hit €8,000 of donations, and Sarah hit that almost immediately, it was capped, you couldn't vote for them anymore. And, yeah, before the time limit was up, 4 other artists also hit that cap, so the whole thing was just treated as a massive tie. So it was just down to the national final jury to pick the winner, and even then, the jury's first place didn't get through because he didn't get the €8,000, so we just try not to talk about that. And, over on Twitter, we've had some responses to the question of the week about whether we should have national finals or internal selections, and honestly, a good balance across the series is good. You know, different countries, different strokes for different folks, as they say. Emily on Twitter says, national final for sure. It's really interesting to follow a show as opposed to waiting for the internally selected artist to be announced. I feel that, especially when they announce an artist or a song, but they don't actually reveal it. Like, they'll give you a title, but that's all. And also, Norma Johnny, which is a portmanteau, I assume, of John and the name of the Finnish act last year. Depends. Some countries can't be trusted to make the right decision in a national final. I feel like there's a story to that statement. By the way, I know I'm sort of infamous for plugging my own stuff during my shows, but do check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/TessHex, because I have a series ongoing at the moment covering my personal top 43 of this year's contest's competing songs, and on Monday, I will be revealing my personal top 10, so if you're interested in hearing me go in-depth and professional about all of this year's songs, do consider checking that out. I am incidentally collecting other people's top 43 so I can mash them together into a so-called mega top 43. It'd take too long to explain the rules of that here, but the system works, trust me. I've been doing it for 3 years now. It's absolutely fascinating. So yes, youtube.com/TESSHEX, TessHex. Personal advertisement aside, though, I think it's about time for some more music, so how about we hand over to an artist that a good few people in this country should already be familiar with. Representing Finland this year, you might just recognise Sara Aalto from the X Factor just over a year ago, where she rose to fame as the underdog who just wouldn't be eliminated, and then, when the producers started treating her as a person and not just a novelty funny foreigner, she suddenly became a contender for the win, and finished in second place overall behind only Matt Terry. It's been a dream of hers to take part in Eurovision, and indeed, she's tried to represent Finland for years. Finally, this year, the Finnish broadcaster guaranteed her a spot in the show instead of making her compete alongside other artists for the privilege, and so, for her years of effort, it's finally paid off. Here's Sara Aalto's Eurovision entry for Finland, competing this year. Here is Monsters.
Do you need a bit of Or perhaps just some... But you're worried about the... Worry no more!
The Hair and Beauty Academy at Farnborough College of Technology is open 5 days a week and until late on Tuesdays and Thursdays, offering unbelievable prices for cutting, colouring, barbering, manicures, pedicures, facials, hot stones, Swedish massages and so much more, and for half of what you'd pay on the high street. Go to farn-ct.ac.uk for more information or call us on 01252 407 243. That's 01252 407 243.
So, what do you guys feel like doing?
I'm hungry.
I want to get my nails done.
We're out of kitchen roll at home, so I need to stock up.
And I want to check out that new game that just got released today.
Everybody wants something different. How can you possibly hope to make everyone happy?
Oh, let's go to Prince's Meet then.
What? No, there can't be an answer as easy as that.
Well, there is. Over 30 indoor shops on one level, lots of variety, and a food court that fits anyone's taste, and more. It's the ideal place to hang out.
Well, can I come?
Of course you can, Greg. Just stop doing that weird voice.
Right.
Prince's Meet. Essential shopping every day.
We're flying off to Lisbon. All aboard Tess's Eurovisions 2018.
Good afternoon, I am Tess and you're listening to my Eurovisions here on FCOT FM. The time is now 12:41 and Eurovision itself is just 2 weeks away. How exciting, it's all going so quickly, I don't even know how to begin to even. And that noise means it's time to begin winding down this week's game of Almost Eurovision. Earlier on in the show, I played you a little recap of 3 songs that all tried and failed to take part in Eurovision. Asked you what year that was. Don't forget to tweet in with hashtag EuroTess if you know the answer, because I'm going to play the clips one more time and then we will have the answer, so be sure to lock your answer in really quickly because your time is almost up. So, yeah, let's just listen to those and see if you know the answer. I wish you the very best of luck. So, that was your last chance to get in with an answer before we start talking about it at length. Although, before that, over on Twitter, we've had a message in saying, listening to Out of the Twilight again, I find I'm not as enthusiastic about it as I was during the selection process. Sarah's voice sounds ever so slightly pitchy. Excused? Well, I mean, Elliot, since you're here, just how do you feel about that statement in relation to the song?
Okay, on the spot here. I liked the song when it first got announced. However, I do stand by the last minute, they kind of throw the kitchen sink and the cat at it. So it does get a little bit busy, but however, I am fully under no illusion that we will see Sarah Blue on the Eurovision stage at some point. And
yeah,
she's got a great voice. It's kind of like Amy Lee from Evanescence to me personally, that sort of like dark voice to it. And she loves to wear a massive dress, so she's Eurovision ready because big dress, tick, big voice, tick. Yeah. Why not?
If she does come back, like, next year or whenever, and does well, San Marino will be kicking themselves for not sending her, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
But, anyway, so I got the impression that maybe you'd have no trouble at all being able to tell me what year those 3 songs are from, but your face is telling me that maybe you're having a bit of trouble with that.
I am. I'm really not, like, living up to expert status, am I? I really did struggle. There's one I kind of picked out, but the other 2... I don't really recognise, and I feel like I should, but I don't.
It's a bit of a tricky one. I did have to dig deep for this one, but I would have thought that for most Euro fans, the 3rd song in there would absolutely give it away, so...
It did sound like a meme that I should be aware of, but I'm not. So that's not the one I got.
You got any wild guesses as to what year it could be then?
The only thing currently going on this is I think it's 2016, purely because on the 2nd song, because there is a song I did enjoy, which was very similar, because it was sort of operatic in a violin, so... That's partly why I'm going for that one.
Well, you got the right decade.
Yay, I'll take that.
But out by 5 years, that was actually from 2011.
Oh, okay.
It was rather difficult getting some songs together for that, but yeah, I do try to keep things relatively tricky just to demonstrate the raw variety that you get even before Eurovision. Like, people will send anything to Eurovision because they want to, they know that you can make strange stuff stick sometimes, and that's fine. It's all about variety. Last year's slogan was Celebrate Diversity, this year's is All Aboard, and I'm trying to embody that with this, and with this show in general, actually. But anyway, I like to think I've succeeded in my little experiment here in showing off the various diversity we get. So, first of all, we had Nikki Ponte with I Don't Wanna Dance from Greece's selection that year, and she has made a career of herself since. And we do now have a message coming on Twitter. Shout out to Jackie on Twitter for correctly guessing 2011, just barely getting it in time, I didn't see that. And anyway, the second song was from a group called Baklava, and the song Moon Dance, which almost represented Malta. Doesn't sound very Maltese.
No.
And third, the legendary Zlata Ognovic and the Kukushka, or the Cuckoo, which tried to represent Ukraine. There was a bit of a debacle in that national selection process, but that ended up not winning anyway, so it's passed into Eurovision legend somewhat.
Wait, hang on. Slaughter as in Gravity Slaughter?
Gravity Slaughter, who did come back. She came back 2 years later, finished third overall at Eurovision 2013, so, bravo to that. That was her, I don't know if that was her first attempt, but I think Jamala was also in that national final. I know she was at some point, and she ended up winning in 2016, so...
I would have never guessed that was Zlata Ognovic when I hear Gravity and then that.
Well, good for her being able to do, like, the cuckoo voice thing, because, like, it sounds like something that would be easy to mock, but, like, it's worth taking seriously. So, yeah, I hope I'm demonstrating that there is a lot, like, you get out what you put in with Eurovision, you make the effort, you listen to it, then listen to this treasure trove of songs that are just waiting, and that, like, if you don't take Eurovision seriously, you are depriving yourself. You are literally telling yourself, no, I don't want diverse, good music that is better than a lot of music, but that's just me. Like, just listen to Eurovision. It's really not that difficult. It's not that difficult of a concept. But anyway, moving on. I think it's time for another song. And, well, last week it was song number 7 in my show that had the biggest impact, if you'll recall, where my colleague and good friend Ozzy he's currently in Radio Studio 2. Hello, Ozzy. And he utterly couldn't believe that the Dutch entry this year really was a Eurovision song. Now, imagine that reaction, but more so, and, well, you've got this next song. We're going to have, now, a bit of Hungarian metal. It sounds rather intense just from the description, doesn't it? Well, this is a bit of a divisive song because it's so far removed from what people usually expect from Eurovision, which is good because, as I've been repeating, my MO with this show is all about obliterating negative preconceptions about the contest. Last year's slogan, as I said, was Celebrate Diversity. This year, All Aboard, everyone get all in with this. And I've been fighting this song's corner under those banners ever since it was chosen. Eurovision isn't just for personality type X or lifestyle Y or music genre Z, it's for everyone, not just anything, everyone, no exceptions. And so I want to praise Hungary for proving that much with this song. So here's the band AVS with Viszlát nyár, which means goodbye summer, and all I'll say is prepare yourself. That was AVS, who, yes, will represent Hungary at Eurovision this year. I think their frontman looks a little bit like an angry Stephen Fry, but that's just me. Anyway, they'll be performing in the lucky 13th slot in the second semi-final, held on the 10th of May, so tragically us in the UK can't vote for it unless it qualifies, at which point, I know I certainly will vote for it, so joining us now in the studio, we also have Ozzy, so
hello.
Hello to you amateur.
Yeah, thanks.
And of course, Elliot's still here, so
hello.
What did you guys think of that song then?
Amazing,
yes.
to be honest.
I have to agree. I mean, obviously, I came in and I said that it reminded me of Lordi's 2006 win, which is the only time me and my family have ever voted on a Eurovision final, because it's obviously so far removed. And Elliot was saying that you remember it because
absolutely,
no, wherever it's put, it's
nothing like anything else.
Yeah. Because obviously with Eurovision you always get your sort of pop, you get occasional very much more out there, like Israel's entry, which is definitely out there.
Yeah, I played that to you a couple of weeks ago. And
you played it to me last week, I thought.
Sometime around then.
But yeah, but this, if it gets through to the final, it's definitely going to be an interesting one to see.
And just a final point is that when you look at previous winners, they all have had a unique selling point, which people remember. So Conchita was the drag queen, Mons had the impressive staging, Jamala had the very tragic story and the powerful vocal, and last year was a moment created on stage. This has the selling point of it's a loud rock song which casual viewers will attest to, and it's going to have 3 minutes of pyro and smoke because they've released their staging, and it just looks like a rock concert on stage. And people are going to remember that, and you're either going to love it or you hate it.
And I love that they're like, it's straight-faced, it's sincere, it's not cynical, it's not, ha ha ha, aren't we silly being metal, vote for us because we're special. Like, no, it's straight-faced, look at us, we've got something to say, if you don't like it, turn off. And
also they have announced on the night of the jury final, I believe it is, they are hosting a rock event in Lisbon. They've rented out a venue, and they are performing to fans off their own back. So they are trying to get a fan base going for them out on the ground, which I think is brilliant.
It's a very smart idea.
Yeah, very smart. You get some people on the ground shouting your name and shouting your band and your song, people are going to notice. Yeah. So, well done. Plus, then their name is an anagram, which we're not sure of, but it's so fabulous. Apparently, it's Ants with Slippers.
Not an acronym, then.
Anagram acronym, you know what I mean?
Clearly, it stands for AHA weren't Swedish.
That's true as well. They're actually Norwegian.
Yeah. Or ABBA were Swedish. Anyway, though, our time is almost up for this week. So once again, I'd like to remind you lovely people to watch the Eurovision Song Contest, damn it. It's coming up on the 8th, the 10th and the 12th of May, live from Lisbon. It's on the BBC. You'll be able to find it. They should advertise it. If not, then just follow me on Twitter instead, at Tess Hexagons, and youtube.com/TessHex. So I will make sure that you watch the show. I will do what I can to convince you. And Elliot, do you need finding anywhere online?
Yeah, on Twitter, on ERHarris76, that's the best place you can get hold of me, and that's basically just become a place to spout Eurovision knowledge for the next few weeks, because Eurovision is here. I'm so excited, and you can tell because I'm in my Union Jack hoodie, which I love, and I've had for a long time, and yeah, let's get behind our country and support them, because, you know, we love a bit of British pride, so let's showcase it.
Yeah. Well, that's all time we have for now, so be sure to tune in again next week, where I'll be live every morning from 10 AM. We'll be having more Eurovisions at the same time next week, 12 PM on Friday, at which point the Eurovision world's seriously going to start ramping up because of how soon the contest is. For the immediate present, though, stay tuned for Elise and the afternoon show here on FCOT FM. As I like to say elsewhere on the internet, I have been, and will continue to be, Tessellating Hexagons. That's what Tess is short for, in case you're wondering. And it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Thank you for having me as always.
And it's goodbye from me until 3 o'clock.
It's goodbye from all of us here in the studio until next week. So as is tradition, to play us out, here is the UK's entry this year. The very talented Suri, who performed as a backing singer for Belgium in 2015 and 2017, placing 4th both times. Maybe her song Storm will be just as lucky for us. Who knows? For now, I will leave you in her very capable hands indeed.